Anyway, now, the TUC, everyone's favourite people, has warned of coordinated strikes among unions in the new year, i.e. a general strike. Speaking today, Paul Nowak suggested that unless more successful negotiations with the government took place, unions may start taking strike action together on the same day. But is it wrong for these union barons to be holding the country to ransom? To debate this now, I am joined by Labour MP Khalid Mahmood and former Conservative MP Neil Parish. Thank you very much, both of you. I'll start with you, Khalid. Would you support a general strike?
I would support the rights of the people to be able to strike. If they want to coordinate that, they're totally at will to do that. And if you don't call that a general strike, yes. Because the people who work want to have the right sort of pay and conditions, and they should be able to do that once they've gone through all the requirements of the Thatcher bills that went forward that, and they've done that, and they should be able to then strike.
So we do have a sitting Labour MP right here on the telly, Khalid Mahmood, saying you would support a general strike.
Yes.
Wow. OK. All right. Fair enough. Conservative MP Neil Parish, your reaction?
Former Conservative MP Patrick. Yes, I very much would not support that, because I feel that I'm old enough to live through the 70s and all the strikes, and where it sort of basically brought down what was then a Labour government. And the more the government got involved with pay negotiations, in some ways, the worse it got. And so therefore, this idea of a national strike, if we are going to sort of deal with each individual, if the nurses need more pay, and I think people have got a lot of sympathy for that, can't afford the 19%, but perhaps we can afford more that's being offered at the moment. All of these things have got to be taken in their entirety, but not just a coordinated strike, because I think then it becomes very much, I think everybody believes it becomes very political. And I do believe now it's got to a stage, is it about the workers, or is it just about trying to bring down a government? And I think, at this moment, public want to see public sector workers get some more pay, but they don't actually want these coordinated strikes. They don't want to be upset with their travel arrangements in the NHS. I mean, the postal workers actually striking over Christmas was absolutely crazy, if I dare say it, because that's the one time that the post office can actually make some real money, and it always struggles to make money. And of course, me being previously a rural MP, I'm farming now, just about to build an ark with all this rain that's going on. But seriously, what worries me about the postal service is the universal side of it, because naturally rural postal deliveries is much more expensive.
I'm just going to bring Labour MP Khalid Mahmood in there. Khalid, I can't help but feel as though you are at odds with your own party leader on this, who doesn't appear to want any strike, a general strike. Will you be? Well, no, but what will you be doing? Will you be resigning the Labour whip and going on your own, getting down the picket lines?
No, that's not. That's the issue is with the front bench, and Keir Starmer was quite right to hold the front bench on this issue. But as a backbencher, as somebody who has gone through the National Health Service, who's worked with the people in the NHS, who's gone through a transplant myself, as I've said to you, I know the hard work that they do. What the government is going to do is start talking to them. That's all they want. And that's what they've said. If just before Christmas, if the Health Secretary of State spoke to them, we would be in this position. It's in the government's hand, and that's what Keir Starmer is saying. It's got to be in the government's hand, Patrick, and they're going to do that, and they're going to talk to them.
Just talking of Christmas, Khalid, are you at home at the minute? Do you mind me asking? Are you at home? Did you have a nice festive period? Did you with your family?
I'm abroad at the moment.
You're abroad? Oh, fair enough. All right, OK. Well, I'm just wondering, because you are obviously in secure employment at the minute, you get a nice salary. Actually, in fact, if you did get a train, the taxpayer could probably pay for that train journey from wherever you normally live over back to Parliament, and you probably have a nice little break away with your family. But a lot of people weren't able to see their family for strikes or get to their job as a freelancer, say, where they're not on a secure wage because of these strikes.
Patrick, you can't use people who are working and asking for their pay conditions against the people. This is the issue with the government.
No, I'm just wondering whether you're best placed to be supporting for this general strike, to be honest with you, from the position that you're in. Some would call it an ivory tower.
Well, it's not. We work as members of Parliament. That's what we have. The payment is what we have. Neil was on that before he resigned as a member of Parliament, and that's what's set. As far as we're concerned, as me as a Labour member of Parliament, I work virtually throughout the year. I'm still working now. I've been working throughout, looking at my emails, responding to them whilst I've been away. I carry on looking on my patch and see what's going on. But what we have to do is the government has to look at how we can support those people in the National Health Service, in the ambulance service, and all those people who work very hard throughout the period, and talk to them. What they want is the government to talk to them.
OK. Neil, the people who seem to be behind these strikes appear to be veering further and further to the left, and actually, genuinely as well, further left than the actual Labour Party at the minute. That is important to say, although I'm starting to wonder. So what do you think that we are actually just seeing people who are desperate to push some kind of radical socialist agenda doing all they can to do that, knowing that they don't have mainstream political support?
You see, I think what happens with every union, with any type of organisation, the higher you get up, in many cases, the more militant you become and the more militants take over. And I think many of the workers have got a very legitimate cause. But you see, there are independent pay reviews. They are settling, they should settle the dispute. And I will repeat what I said at the beginning of the interview. Bringing the government in sounds like a clever idea, but it won't, because all it'll do is escalate it. Because if you gave in to one particular section of workers, then they'd all want it. And then the ones that started off at the beginning would decide that they hadn't had quite enough, and so they'll go back for some more. And it's just history repeating itself. Now, everybody wants to get a decent wage. But it's got to be paid for. It's got to be paid for by private sector and other taxpayers as well, which are having an awful job making a living now with energy crisis. Getting to work, hospitality sector, all of that over Christmas has been badly, affected by all these strikes. We are all in it together, and I know the Labour Party would say that, but of course, don't forget we are in it with the public and private sector. I mean, if you're trying to run a business and make a living at the moment, very difficult, and I think people should be a little bit careful when they start coordinating strikes, because I think a lot of the start to believe that it was a politically motivated, and I don't think you want.
All right, Neil, I'm just going to give the final word to Khalid, who I can see is itching to get involved. Very quickly, go on.
Yeah, just very quickly. What they need is, people do need that new rise in payment, what they're asking for. The government has to sit down to talk to them. The pay reviews are outdated. The last health service pay review was considered in February. The data was 6 months before that, before we had a huge hike in inflation and the interest rates and the fuel and food poverty. So you can't stick to that. So what you've got to do is the government's got to come forward and deal with it.
But bring that pay review forward, but not let the government directly get involved, because it won't work.
But somebody to do something about it.
Yeah, I get that someone needs to do something about it, but I mean, even driving examiners. Anyway, we've run out of time. We're going to have you both on. I have enjoyed this, and I appreciate the spirit in which it was all intended. Thank you very much, both of you. That was Labour MP Khalid Mahmood and former Conservative MP Neil Parish. That was a Labour MP live on air saying he supports a general strike.